Hey friends, Audrey Henley here, and today we're going to be formatting a book cover together. And this is going to be the full book cover. You do usually get the front cover design first for promotional reasons, and then after you formatted your book and know how many pages there will be, you can format the entire cover, including the back and the spine. And a quick disclaimer, I am not a designer. So this video is more about how to size your book correctly, how to adjust your spine bulk and whatnot. So more about having everything print correctly, not having weird formatting issues. And the book cover won't be beautiful, but it will be printable, which is what this is all about. So let's get started. Right now I'm on the Kindle Direct Publishing website, and I just wanted to show you this because it has all the formatting things you need to know if you're going to publish on Kindle Digital Publishing, which is the most common self-publishing avenue. And I'm just highlighting some things, and I'm showing you the trim I'm picking is 5.5 by 8.5. 5.5 is the width and 8.5 is the height, because most books are longer than they are wide. Now I am in the dialog box that you get when you open a new InDesign document. I'm going to go ahead and title it book cover design sample or something like that. And then I want to show you the specific presets I pick. So I like inches. Most of us are familiar with inches. And then notice I'm going to put 11.55. And the reason I do that is because you have to include both cover sides. So since it's 5.5 by 8.5, 5.5 times 2 is 11, and then 0.55 is an arbitrary spine bulk I made up. And then the height is just going to be 8.5. Here I like the margins at 0.5, and I'll show you why in a moment. Yeah, so these are the bleeds, and industry standard is 0.125 inches, so just go ahead and use that. And then the slug is 0.4, and that's not really anything you need to worry about. I just like it like that for reasons. So here is the beautiful document that InDesign has made it for us after we put in those presets. And what I'm doing now is creating guides that will help us visualize how the cover will work out as we go. So first you're going to enter 5.5. This will be the left edge to the spine. And then remember, my spine bulk is 0.55. That's how thick the book is. So I add 0.55 to get 6.05, and so that is going to be the right side of the spine. And you can just enter that. It makes a little guide for you there. And then something I like to do is to have a mark in the middle in order to center text later on. So I go ahead and figure that out, so you can take the spine bulk, which is 0.55 divided by 2, and then add that to 5.5. And so that'll give you the middle line there. Okay, so we've got our beautifully set up document. Next, what I'm going to do is to add like an arbitrary photograph, just so you can see how photographs should line up. Oh, and I'm making a background color just to make a background color. So go all the way from the bleeds, which are those red marks, and I'll explain those in a bit. And then just picking a random color, just so you can get an idea of where everything needs to go. Alright, so I've picked a random photo from unsplash.com. This is royalty free, that's why I picked it. And it's like a nice long photograph, which is good for book covers, because if you think about it, books are taller than they are wide. And I'm opening this up in Photoshop, but you do want to resize images in Photoshop or another program for your front cover, and I thought I would just illustrate that a little bit for you. Alright, and then 2 hours later, I have the image open in Photoshop, and I'm going to go straight to, I think it's Image in Windows, and then we're going to go to Image Resize, or Image Size. Alright, so I unchecked Resample, and I changed to inches. And we're going to just make this a 6 by 9 because that's close enough. Not high res right now, but just ignoring that, we're going to use this for our book cover. And I'll just name it something quick and save. And then this little dialog box will pop up, and I like to do baseline optimize and then put the quality all the way up and hit OK. Alright, we are back in my InDesign document, and I'm going to pull in this image that I resized. Stick it and when you go in and click, do it outside of the little box you've made, and then I put it there and start thinking about how I want it to look on the cover. Again, your front cover would have already been formatted by now, so usually you would just already have a cover, but this is just for illustrative purposes to see where the image approximately will go. Here I am resizing the front cover image, and I'm going to take it to the little red line, which again is the bleed. So you do want it to extend past where it's actually going to print. Notice as well that I stopped the image at the spine mark there, and I decided I didn't want the image to bleed over onto the spine, but it certainly can. That is a stylistic choice. Next, I am making up a cover title. Again, this would already be done by now, but I just wanted to show you about where text should be, and this will give you a good idea of what you should ask for in a cover design. I see a lot of covers that have text going all the way to the edge of the cover, and I really don't like that. It can get cut off, it can look weird, and a lot of people just don't realize how it'll actually turn out. It might look good on the screen with the text going all the way to the edge, but it might not look good printed. So just going to make this a big size and make some decisions here. In order to line text up, I like to center it, and then you can use that like middle box there on the text box to help center it. There we go. And then I noticed that the girl wasn't looking centered, so I decided to fix that. So in order to figure out the center of the front cover, I'm going to do a little trick, which is I'm going to take this spine bulk, and so we know that each cover is going to be 5.5 inches long. So we're going to take half of 5.5, which is, I had to do some math to remember, 2.75, and then add it to that right spine mark, and we get 8.8, which is the center of the front cover. So I'm going to go ahead and make a guide for that and enter 8.5 to be sure. And then I can try to work on centering the girl. So to do that, I'm going to double click this image, and then it'll actually let you kind of move the image around without moving the frame around, which is really nice because you don't have to redo the frame. And then I can use that line again to center the text as well. Next, I am going to make the text different colors just to make it stand out. And so I go into text color, and then I tried to get to the eyedropper. I had a little trouble here. And I want to take a picture from the grass, go in there, and then go to the eyedropper. It's really struggling. And get a color of the grass. That wasn't quite right, so highlight again. And eyedropper, and then I just take a color from the image, which I really like doing because it ensures that the color is going to match the image. And then I thought cool thing to do would be to take the brown from the sky there. So this one, yep, just grab that color, and that looked really nice. Next, I decided to bump up the text size. Over here, I'm increasing the tracking, which is the space between the letters, and then decided to bump up summer a little bit as well. And I decided to change the font on last, just so that summer could be the only word in that fun, scripty font. And for a while, I'm just going to be playing around with fonts and making it look good until I like it. Here I'm adding an author name, and I like to make it the same font as last, probably like a plain font, bump up the size a little bit, but always have the title of the work be bigger than the author name. And so I'm going to find that same font as last. Something cool that good designers will do is to find ways for the text to play with either your illustration or your image, like here. So I tried to make Jane Doe kind of fit in this dress like a belt almost. Really up to personal preference, but I really like design elements like this. A really helpful trick while you're in InDesign is to click outside the box and then hit W. That allows you to see the cover as it will print, essentially. Like you can see it without those little grids and guides. Now it's time to make this box on the back a better color to match this picture. So I took that yellow in last, and see how nice that matches up with the front cover. Now I'm going to add the text on the spine. So I go ahead and just make a regular text box, start typing in things. We're gonna do the author name first, and go ahead and bump that up, and we'll change the font a little bit. Next, we are going to shift this 90 degrees so that it will be sideways like the spine. And you have to make sure it's exactly 90 degrees. You do not want it to be crooked. So trying to get to 90 degrees, and then we go ahead and use that center line I created in order to line it up. So unfortunately, there isn't quite as an easy way to line it up as there is on the front cover with it being horizontal, but I like to go ahead and zoom in, Control+, and kind of just line up the text with that center line until I like it. To make the title, I just copied the text box so I didn't have to do the 90-degree turn again, and I'm going to type Last Summer. You can play a bit with the fonts, which I'm going to do. Alright, I have another math problem for you. I'm going to make sure that my text is not too close to the edge of the spine, which would mean it would bleed on the front cover or the back cover. And in order to do that, I make it so that there is a 0.0625 inch leeway, and I just happen to know that that is what it is for KDP. So I guess I just remembered that. And then so I take this outer edge and I go, so it's 6.05, and so I subtract 0.0625. And I still wasn't quite happy with how that title was looking. It just didn't have enough shebang, so I decided to make Summer another font like it was on the front cover. And so just delete that. I'm gonna do 2 different text boxes to keep it straight, keep it separate. And I'm just shrinking that text box there. If you have text boxes that are too long, they just get in the way. I promise me, they just do. So I like to shrink them. And then here is me taking forever to fix the font for Summer. I did a lot of waffling. Alright, so I'm going to zoom out, Control-, and then I'll click outside the box and hit W to kind of see what it's looking like. So, I mean, looks like a book cover-ish. I decided to bump up Summer a little bit more because I think it's the most important part of the title, and it just adds a little bit of spice. And then I zoom in, Control+ to make sure that it's still fitting in within that tolerance, which again is 0.0625 inches. And here is me doing some more font waffling. The thing is, I don't have a lot of good fonts downloaded, so definitely don't have the best selection here. Like, I think a good Helvetica might have done the trick, but I just wanted something that looked a little better, so I waffled around and changed the fonts a little bit. So I'll just speed through this. And I made a little rectangle here and just filled it with black just to give you a sense for where you want to put any symbols. Like if you have a little logo for your publishing house, you want to put it right here. And watch where I line it up. So I line it up with that central line there, and then I zoom in and make sure it is above the pink line, which is my margin. So I like to keep everything 0.5 inches away from the edge. It's pretty generous, but I think it just keeps you safe, and so that would be the placement for your logo. Next, I am going to add some back cover copy. First, I'm going to add a shelving category, which you want to put on every back cover. This helps librarians and bookstores know where to put your book, so it's pretty important. Let's all laugh at how terrible I am at typing, and then I decided to just come up with a fake category for this book. So to grab some practice text, I went to Lorem Ipsum, which is a website. So here's a good amount of text, and I am just going to put this on the back cover to give us an idea of where you put back cover text, what size it should be, and whatnot. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to make another guide. So I like to have 0.5 of margin before the spine book as well. So I'm going to make another guide there at 5, because that's 0.5 inches away from 5.5, which is our width. And so there's my text, and you'll notice a little box at the end is an error because I have too much text, so I just go ahead and delete some. You don't really need all of that text. Okay, and then next I am going to highlight all of this and format how I want it. So usually you want to go with justified. And there it is, that justify button. And I like it exactly how it is. You'd usually check line breaks and italicization and stuff like that. But we're just going to call that good. Next, I'm going to move up this text box because we have a few other things we want to get on this back cover. And I think I'll delete some more words there too, just to give us more space. So next we're going to add a little text box, and so for this you're going to put the name of your publishing house, and you're going to put any credit lines. So let's say you didn't use a license-free image and you need to credit the photographer or the stock site you got it from, you could go ahead and add that here. Feel free to make the text a bit smaller here. Next, I'm going to make a box to represent your barcode. KDP barcodes are pretty hunkin' big, and you can design them on the KDP interface, and I'm not going to do that now, but I just want you to see how big it is and about where you want to put it on your cover. Again, I keep it 0.5 inches away from the spine so you have plenty of room. Barcodes are important because it's how stores scan your book and sell it to people, so you want to make sure that's nice and clear and big and going to scan alright. I press W again just to get another last look at the cover, and I'm like, wow, this is looking great. I mean, it's not, but it'll print correctly, hurrah! And yeah, so now we're going to export. So you go to File, Export, what a surprise, and you name it, and you're going to export as a PDF. That is the standard format you want. There's that dialog box, and you want PDF X1. It's a long ass name, but I just remember the X1 part. And then don't worry about any of that, but go to Marks and Bleeds and hit Document Presets, because you've already made the bleeds 0.125, which is exactly what you want. So that's going to export. And just to show you the final product, I did want to open that PDF document so you could really get a sense for what the book's gonna look like. Yeah, my computer's gonna take a while to load that, but while it does, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful and just fun. Whether you're thinking about self-publishing or not, it's really cool to know how books are made and to just think about things like bleeds and guides and how it all works. So here's the final product. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the cover formatting process, about adjusting for spine bulk, anything like that. I am happy to help, so please just comment below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next week.